Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel. I am so excited that you're here with me today. Today, I want to chat with you about how to thrive in winter because I know that winter is coming. I can feel it. Right now, it's still kind of the ending of the wonderful, wonderful summer that we've had, and the fall is approaching. Slowly, I can feel it much cooler in the morning. We've had some crisp mornings, about 50 degrees or so. And I'm like, okay, it's time to get ready for that winter healing. Um, it's going to be time to make some shifts. And of course, that's going to happen gradually. And I want to explain that to you today. But we're slowly going to make some gradual shifts to prepare for winter, our bodies to prepare for winter, because we not only have circadian rhythms or those 24-hour rhythms, we also have these, rhythms of the seasons, right? I think it might be called rhythms or something like that. It doesn't really matter. We have the rhythms of the seasons, right? That we change throughout the seasons. Our bodies are going to run different processes in winter than it runs in summertime. So I want to chat with you today about that and how the body is going to shift and what things are going to shift and how maybe you should shift your practices to maximize your healing potential in winter and to thrive in winter. Like we can thrive in winter. So I want to talk to you about how do we thrive in winter today. So first of all, I used to always think, like when I first started learning about nature and how healing it is, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I love sun and I love summer. Like I thought the sun is the healer, right? It's the ultimate healer. The wintertime, I'm going to lose this sunlight, this healing potential, and I'm not going to be able to heal as well. And now the more I've learned about circadian biology, the more I realize that sun is a beautiful healing modality, but darkness is also a beautiful healing modality. And it's that yin and yang, right? That sunlight during the day and the darkness at night, or that high amount of sunlight that we get in winter and the low amount of sunlight of summer and the low amount of sunlight we get in winter, right? This is like the normal rhythms of nature, and nature provides healing benefits for both of those seasons, right? There's immense healing in summer and there's immense healing potential in winter. We just have to honor winter and what winter is providing us, right? So that's what's really important here is we have to honor winter so we can thrive in winter. We have to honor, the light signals that are approaching. And that's the main difference. One of the main things we're going to talk about today is the light difference, right? In the summertime, we have these beautiful long days, right? The sun is up really early, at least in a northern latitude like me, right? The sun is up early and it goes to bed much later. I'm talking about the sun and us too, right? And we have these really long light days and we're outside a lot in nature, getting a lot of sunlight. And in wintertime, that light shifts where the days are much more condensed. They are much shorter. For me, my sunlight is between like in the heart of winter, it's like from 8 o'clock to like 4 o'clock is when I have sunlight. It's a very short window of time for sunlight. So that means that in wintertime, we have to honor much more darkness. And the problem is if we're not honoring that darkness and we continue to keep the lights on after sunset and use our bright LEDs and work into the night and eat food late into the night and, have all our bright lights out and go to parties and do all these things throughout the winter. I'm not saying you can never do any of that, but I'm saying if you continue to do that on a daily basis throughout winter, you are never going to get the deep healing that winter provides. You are living in what T.S. Wiley in Lights Out calls the never-ending summer. And you are never running the repair programs that winter provides. And this is why people gain weight in the winter, why they have intense sugar cravings, why they feel more energy decreases, because they are not utilizing winter the way nature provided us or nature intended us to utilize winter time. So the hormone that we need to maximize in wintertime is melatonin, and melatonin is greatly controlled by our light environment. So we want to do everything we can to not suppress the release of our melatonin production in the evening. And if cortisol is being activated, melatonin is being suppressed. Cortisol and melatonin are opposing hormones. So how do we activate cortisol cortisol at inappropriate times? Well, number one is lights, LEDs, fluorescence, and blue light. Blue light is our body's zeitgeber and timekeeper. Blue light from the sun is not bad. Blue light from screens, though, and from fluorescence and LED lights are problematic because they are devoid of infrared light. In the sunlight, nature is always balanced with red and blue. Red is the antidote to blue. They're always together. Our modern lights are void of that. Our modern screens, our phone screens, our TV screens, our computer screens, they're void of red light. And that's the problem. But blue light is that timekeeper, right? So when you see blue light, your eyes see that balance of blue and red, or blue light in general, it's going to spike cortisol. So if you are looking at LEDs, fluorescence, your phone screen, your computer screen, it's going to spike a cortisol response, and you are going to be shunting your melatonin production. This is why looking at artificial light at night is so detrimental, because it's going to not allow your body to rerun its repair processes at night. Your repair processes of autophagy and apoptosis. Autophagy, which is cellular repair, and apoptosis, which is cell death. Those programs are not going to run at all or as efficiently if you are up all night watching TV and scrolling on your phone or playing video games or out at a party with all the LED overhead lights on. These processes won't happen. Now, of course, there are ways to mitigate this. If you listen to my podcast, The Quantum Connection, I have 2 episodes with the light doctor, Dr. Martin Moore-Eid. Great episodes to go listen to, and you'll understand how the lack of, or the suppression, I should say, of melatonin production by looking at artificial light at night is basically one of the biggest drivers of cancer, diabetes, metabolic disorders, heart disease, autoimmunity, chronic disease, so many things, heart disease. Did I say that one already? Cancers, because your melatonin is never doing its cleanup and repair work that it needs to do at night. So what else is going to spike? That's the number one way. Light will also spike it. Food at night will also spike cortisol, especially carbohydrate consumption. At night will also spike your cortisol, because you need cortisol to help with your blood sugar balance. So when you eat something with a carbohydrate at night, your cortisol is going to respond, and glucose is going to spike, and then you're going to shunt your melatonin production. Also, just like doing more stressful things instead of being like restorative at night. Like, so even like if your phone screen is on red, or you're watching the news and you're looking at, watching a stressful movie or anything like that, where you're keeping your body kind of in this stress state because you're stressing out your nervous system, this is going to spike cortisol and non-native EMFs as well. That's why I'm always recommending people to turn the Wi-Fi off at night so they can not have this stressing out their nervous system and causing a sympathetic response, which is also going to release more cortisol. Okay, I've said a lot of things here. Let's break it down. So if you want to maximize healing in winter, it is really imperative that you get your light environment right, and you are mitigating all forms of artificial blue light at night after sunset. Okay, you can mitigate this with blue blockers. I have a free product guide for you linked down in the show notes below. And I have discount codes for really good quality blue blockers. Do not buy a cheap pair on Amazon that are clear. After sunset, you need to be wearing orange tone blue blockers, and about an hour before bed, or even a half hour before bed, when you want to go to sleep, put on the red, because they will have you passing out. I used to have chronic insomnia. And I never, let's just go back to that time period in my life. I used to have chronic insomnia and really intense pain at night. And my body was not endogenously producing enough melatonin because A, I wasn't getting out in morning sunlight, and B, I wasn't blocking artificial light at night. And when I started doing those 2 practices, getting out at morning sunlight, sunrise light and UVA light, and then blocking artificial light at night, guess what? I started endogenously making more melatonin. My nervous system calmed down. My body was able to get into repair mode. My pain decreased, and my sleep improved immensely. So we have to remember here that we don't need a melatonin supplement. We can endogenously produce this hormone by giving our body the correct light signals. Okay. All right. So get a pair of good quality blue blockers. You can also get orange tone or red light bulbs at night to minimize or to just take away the blue light in your environment. You can make your screens red through iris technology. And try to cover up your skin as well, because there are photoreceptors in the eye that help tell the time of day. That's how we know when blue light is available. It tells us when every time we see blue light, it tells our body that it's daytime. So if you're looking at your phone screen at 8 o'clock at night in the middle of winter and then looking at it in a bright blue light, it's telling your body that, hey, it's noon in June. And when your body says it's noon in June, it says pump out more cortisol. And we're not going to do any healing work. We're going to suppress melatonin because you've just told your body that it's the middle of the day on a sunny summer day. So it's like those light signals tell our body what to do and when to do it. And we mess that up when we give it the wrong or the inappropriate light frequency, right? We want our bodies to do a lot of repair in winter. Okay. Okay. Of course, during the day, you can use, your yellow tone blue blockers, because you still don't want to be looking at artificial light during the day if you have to be in front of a screen or an LEDs. Of course, there are ways to mitigate it. Like I said, iris technology is one. You can change your phone screen to red and all of that. So yes, we need to very much be honoring the darkness in winter if we want to thrive in winter. It is imperative. And if you have to be up before sunrise, this is also another time to be throwing on your orange tone blue blockers. Okay, so that is one way that we help our body heal and repair. We maximize our melatonin production by honoring the darkness. So after sunset, we are keeping things restorative. We are keeping things low key. We are keeping things dark. We are thinking things quiet. We're trying not to work, all of that. Sitting in front of a fire is a great way. That's going to produce more infrared heat in your body. Amazing. That actually helps your subcellular melatonin. I'm going to come back to that. Let's go to making sure that we get out at sunrise and UVA, because if you're not out at sunrise, right, to get those when you're out at sunrise, there's this beautiful balance of red and blue light, right, that helps set the circadian rhythm. It tells the body time to put away the melatonin and to release the cortisol. So this really helps get those melatonin patterns, or that melatonin cortisol pattern, working appropriately, because they are a seesaw hormones. If one is high, the other one is low. If the other one is high, the other one is low, right? So we want to make sure that we're getting out at that sunrise light to help set the circadian rhythm, to tell the body that it's daytime again, so the body knows what to do and when to do it. And then we also want to make sure we're getting out in UVA light. And of course, you want to do all of these light frequencies, sans sunglasses or contacts or glasses, because that's going to block the correct frequencies that our bodies actually need to thrive. Now, when you get UVA light in your eyes, it's going to interact with an aromatic amino acid called tryptophan. And tryptophan is an amino acid that actually is like a light trap, and it's going to capture those photons of light, and those photons of light that it captures in UVA light is going to send a message to your brain, then to your gut through the gut-brain axis, to start making more serotonin. So you make this serotonin in this UVA light, and this helps replenish our pineal gland melatonin for later on at night. So you make that serotonin in UVA light through the tryptophan serotonin pathway. It gets made in the gut. Then it helps the body then take that serotonin. Later on, it will become pineal gland melatonin. You see how serotonin, melatonin, they both have a similar ring to it. Serotonin turns into melatonin later on in the day. Okay, this is why naturopaths told me to take tryptophan supplementation, or to, you know what I mean? That's why they use SSRIs, right, to help people who can't sleep, because it's affecting these pathways. But you can fix this with your light environment. Okay, so you need to be also getting out in that UVA light, because you want to replenish those pineal gland melatonin stores by getting your body to make more serotonin. Okay, this way that you can release it later on when you are honoring the darkness by not flipping on all the lights, right? And by keeping your nights restorative and not eating at that time period. Okay, this way your body can get in this deep repair, deep autophagy and apoptosis that it needs to get into. Okay, So that's light. Okay. Now, the other thing about light is infrared light is really, really important to make more melatonin as well. Infrared light is available from the sun all day long. Sunlight is about 40 some odd, I've heard 42, 45, 50% infrared light. So sunlight is always balanced. When blue light is out, when blue light is present, it is always also present with infrared light. Okay, that's what makes that. There's a little bit of inflammation from blue, but that it's balanced always with infrared. Okay, same thing when you're on UV light. There's a little bit of inflammation that happens, but it's balanced with infrared light. Okay, it's red is the antidote to blue. Okay, they synergistically work well together. They balance each other. But you want to make more or just be exposed to more infrared light. We're exposed to a lot of infrared light. Infrared light is, we don't see it. It's heat. Okay. Right now I'm sitting out in the sunlight. I'm getting a ton of infrared light on my skin, right? Infrared light can actually penetrate through clothing. I think I have another YouTube video specifically on infrared light, so go check that one out. But anyway, you want to make sure you're still exposing your body to a lot of infrared light during the wintertime. Why? Because infrared light helps your body make more subcellular melatonin. This is the melatonin that's made in the mitochondria. And you want to make a lot of this melatonin because mitochondria health is just about everything, right? So we want to make a lot of this to help us heal and repair all day long. It like repairs our inflammation and our oxidative damage and stress all day long. So it's running cellular repair for you all day long as you are exposing your body to infrared light. Now, where do we get our infrared light from? Like I mentioned, sunlight, whenever it's out, is always, which is even on a cloudy day, even on a rainy day, even on a snowy day, infrared light frequencies, they are they're the longest wavelength of light, and it can still penetrate. It even penetrates through clothing. So just being outside, you are going to be exposed to infrared light, okay? When the sun is present, when the sun is out, even on a cloudy day. Other ways your body can be exposed to infrared light is a sauna, okay, is a red light therapy panel device, but the sun is always number one. You always want to use the sun because it's also going to have a whole host of other benefits when you're out there, okay? But all of these things will help your body make more subcellular melatonin, okay? Sunlight, sauna, red light therapy. You want to choose a good quality red light therapy device. Check out my free product guide because you want one that's low EMF, low flicker. Same thing with sauna. You want a low EMF sauna and you want it to be infrared because that's how it improves your mitochondria function and your exclusion zone water production. And you want to also sauna. Oh, firelight. Firelight is a great source of infrared heat. You can sit in front of a fire. I love that one because it's a natural source of infrared, like the sun. Also, a warm bath is going to expose you to infrared. And also, if you go in the cold, it's going to help your body make more infrared heat because what happens is your body, it's like exercising your mitochondria to help your body make more light. Because what happens is when your body gets cold, okay, it forces the body or it kind of nudges the body or sends the signal, oh, it's cold outside. I need to make more internal heat. Okay. And then the more you're exposed to cold, the less likely you're going to be, like your body will adapt, the less like intolerant you'll be to cold. Like, people who can't like tolerate being outside in cold. Well, the more you expose your body to cold, the more heat your body will make itself, the more infrared heat it makes itself. And then you can tolerate the cold a lot easier. How do I do this in the winter? I still go outside and I go outside in less clothing. I take walks in less clothing. I'm not saying you should be, going outside in 20-degree weather in your, shorts and sports bra, but, just try to expose your body to more cold. Particularly the neck is a great spot to expose your body to more cold because this is where the brown fat lives, and this can activate that brown fat. It activates the vagus nerve and the central nervous system. So expose your body to cold. So I go outside in less clothing in the wintertime. I keep my house, I don't keep it at 70. I keep it more at like 60 degrees. So it's not super warm in my home. I do some cold therapy. I'm always cautious with this because it can cause it's a very strong stimulus. And it really affects the hormones greatly. So you want to be careful. I end my showers in cold or I alternate hot and cold showers. I do some, cold face plunges, like in ice. I sometimes will get in, like, alternate my sauna and my pool, but not when it's too cold. Like I don't do cold therapy. Like if it's lower than like 40, 50 degree, even 50, like I don't like it that cold. So for me, the ideal temperature is more like 50, 60s is ideal cold therapy temperature. So that's kind of what I do. And I just started doing it now. We have a saltwater pool here. So I've been doing sun and cold and getting in the saltwater pool. Of course, you can go swim in natural lakes, rivers, things like that. That would be an immense way to get cold as well. And plus you're getting all the minerals from the rivers and the grounding effects or the earthing effects from being in the natural rivers, lakes, streams, seawater, all of that. Just make sure it's enough that don't go very slow with cold therapy. And if I think we're working with a practitioner like myself or somebody else when you're trying to implement a modality like that is really important because you don't want to overdo. Okay, less is more with that, I think. So let your body get some cold so it makes some infrared heat. And then the last thing I want to touch on is, excuse me one second, is food. Because for me, wintertime, to thrive in winter, we need to optimize darkness, which is making sure we're tending to our light environment, our indoor light environment. We need to maximize cold, so letting our body get cold, because temperature is another Zeitgeber. Light is the number one Zeitgeber. Temperature is another Zeitgeber. And then food is our last Zeitgeber. So wintertime is a time for a little bit more scarcity. That's the other word. So it's darkness, coldness, and scarcity. So wintertime is a time for a little bit more scarcity when it comes to foods. Remember that you always want to I have a lot of episodes and a lot of information on nutrition and what to eat. And I also have 2 ebooks that you can get for a really cheap price. The Get Your Light Right ebook will teach you how to maximize your light environment. That is an ebook with a audio recording as well. So that's a video recording, like a webinar. So it's like a webinar and the slides that you get with that. And then I also have, that's the Get Your Light Right ebook or the light webinar. And then I also have a Ancestral Seasonal Diets Basics. So that'll explain to you how to implement some scarcity in winter. And coming up soon, I'm going to have an ancestrally nourished recipe book. So you'll know what to eat throughout the seasons and how to shift with the seasons. And then, of course, I have personalized healthcare plans, one-to-one coaching, group coaching. So you can look at all of that if you want to work one-on-one to me, or just hit me up for a one-to-one session one time, just to ask questions. That's always available too. Okay, so scarcity. Let's talk a little bit about that. We have to understand that food is condensed light. It's contains the energetic light information. So we want to eat with the seasons. Our gut microbiome should actually shift with the seasons and the light that we are with, like the light that it's receiving, right? So in the summertime, right now, even through the fall, as it's not even fall yet, but as it's coming to fall, there's an abundance of all the fruits and vegetables and harvest that we've had through the winter that the strong UVB light could grow. But when the UVB light leaves the area, not a lot of things grow in the wintertime, okay? And if you are eating foods that do not grow in your region or your latitude or contain a different a different light code than the light that you are receiving, this is what we call a circadian mismatch, and this causes inflammation in the mitochondria, okay, at a cellular level, okay? So, for example, if I go and eat some mangoes in January in New York, that mango, which never contains very strong UVB light, that my body is going to eat that light and be very confused because it's going to say, wait, I thought it was winter time. I'm supposed to be doing my winter jobs. I'm supposed to be not receiving that kind of light right now. Like it's confusion. Remember, only recently can we go to the food store and eat whatever we want, whenever we want. Could we get food shipped from other parts of the world? We used to only eat what was in season or what could locally grow in our environment. And now, because our modern conveniences have really created a big, big quantum mismatch for us, because we can just eat whatever we want whenever we want. We think it's fine. Mangoes are healthy, right? Well, a mango is not going to be as healthy for you in the winter than even in the summer. And even where I live, mangoes are always a circadian mismatch because they don't grow in my latitude, right? You want to eat what's local and seasonal to your area, okay? So, like I said, in wintertime, we're not growing a lot of foods, okay, that are, I should say, we're not growing carbohydrates, right? Especially carbohydrates that are rich in deuterium and glucose. And that's because nature makes no mistakes. They get it right. I have a video on deuterium. You can go check that out. But nature makes no mistakes, okay? You, in the wintertime, when there's no UVB light, you don't have a mechanism to deplete deuterium or excess glucose because, and you actually don't have enough cortisol in your system to actually digest and utilize the nutrients from simple sugars because your gut microbiome should be shifting with the season. And then you're not actually, it's not anticipating that. It's not creating the right bacteria profile in the gut for simple sugars. Although in the summer it would be. Let's go back to deuterium. Deuterium is a heavy hydrogen that jams up the mitochondria motor, basically. Your mitochondria will run less efficiently if you have too much deuterium. Please go listen to the YouTube video I have on that if you're unsure about what this is. And you can eat foods which are going to, high foods in deuterium are going to be these high glucose containing sugary fruits that grow in strong UVB light. You can eat those foods in the summertime when you're outside in sunlight because that's how we deplete it. When we're outside in sunlight, when we're sweating, right? That's how we get rid of it. Also, UVB light helps us deplete glucose from the liver. So it helps regulate it. Nature makes no mistakes, but in wintertime, we don't have this mechanism to deplete it. So what happens is we get kind of, our body gets overburdened with it when we are consuming it at the wrong times of the year. So it's the glucose, it's the deuterium, it's this wrong light code energy that is the problem with these foods. Okay. So you want to have more scarcity of carbohydrates, specifically simple sugar carbohydrates like watermelons or berries or stone fruits or tropical fruits, especially. All of those kinds of things are not really appropriate in wintertime. Okay. And you want to focus on more of your cellar stable fruits, or not even fruits, or veggies, I should say, or root veggies that you could leave long on the counter. Like I just bought a butternut squash from my farm. That squash is going to last me. I won't have to cut that before it rots for months. Okay, that's what I mean by cellar stable. It doesn't really need to be refrigerated. It's going to last long on the counter. And these more complex carbohydrates are what your body is expecting in wintertime. And when the UVB light leaves the area, and that's when the UV index is less than a 5, this is what we're going to want to be focusing on when it comes to carbohydrate consumption. So these are your parsnips, your turnips, your rutabaga, your squashes of all sorts, butternut, delica, there was one with a K, kombasha squash, spaghetti squashes, carrots. Did I say parsnips already? All of those kinds of things. Winter radishes, potatoes. You can do red onions and white onions. You can do mushrooms because they kind of are more of a fungus and they are not really containing the light energy. It's a little bit different. They're low in deuterium. These kinds of foods are what you want to be focusing on throughout winter. And now you also want to be eating less carbohydrates during the winter time in general, because you want to give your body the signals that it's winter time, right? Because wintertime is a time to be being a little bit more fasting, a little bit more ketosis, a little bit more. Now, this fasting thing is a whole nuanced thing. I think I have a whole episode on the Quantum Connection Health podcast, the Quantum Health Connection podcast, excuse me. I have a whole episode on that. And I dive into this with clients as well, because there's a lot of nuance here with fasting, and there's a lot of nuance with metabolism and metabolic flexibility and what people can actually achieve. Because if you don't want to be, pushing your metabolism too hard, too fast into ketosis. This should be gradual, like slowly but surely. Like you've been eating a lot of glucose containing foods through summertime, like slowly but surely, it should be gradually shifting down so your body can naturally kind of acclimate to having less carbohydrates. And then when you're in the heart of winter, you should be not on a complete carnivore diet, but there should be only some carb cycling, because you wouldn't have had a ton of abundance of even the cellar stable root veggies, okay, during the season. So of course you can also do ferments like, your cabbages, your sauerkrauts, and your, fermented, like, carrots and things like that also are appropriate. And I believe things like, raw cheeses and things like that are also very appropriate during this time of year. I mean, would you have gotten milk from a cow in winter? Not necessarily, because it would have been a time when they would have dried out. Okay, I've been talking a long, long time about how to thrive in winter. I feel like I've given you so much information. What you want to look at is your light environment. You want to look at honoring the darkness. You want to look at making more melatonin through the pineal gland and through your subcellular melatonin. You want to focus on infrared heat through sunlight still on the skin, getting your circadian rhythms in line, balancing your melatonin and cortisol patterns. Again, that infrared heat through cold, through sunlight, through sauna, through red light therapy. And then you want to look at food scarcity, lessening the amount of carbohydrates you have, removing simple sugars from your diet. Of course, removing processed foods always, but removing simple sugars from your diet in wintertime, and maybe eating less often, doing maybe a little bit of fasting. And I just do this by eating with the rhythm of the sun. So, the day, like I mentioned before, the day is condensed, right? There's less light throughout the day. So there's less, my feeding window is shorter. So my last meal might be 3 o'clock in the dead of winter. So I get a much, much longer intermittent fasting overnight than I would have. And sometimes I'll eat that meal at 2 o'clock. I push that meal earlier. And then, you have, like I said, a much longer intermittent fasting window throughout winter. And if I want to do a longer fast, I'm a big proponent for a breakfast to breakfast fast. And I wouldn't do any longer fasting unless you're working with somebody. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I hope this video supports you on learning how to thrive through winter. Have an incredible day. And if you need more support, get my Ancestral Seasonal Diets Basic Book. It's really a low-cost buy-in, as well as the Get Your Light Right ebook. Or you can book in with me for a one-off circadian biology session, one-to-one coaching, group coaching if you need more motivation, and personalized healthcare plans if you're suffering with some sort of chronic disease. All of this information that I'm teaching is imperative. I am the walking testimonial of that. Suffered with many chronic diseases. I went from pretty much debilitated with chronic pain and insomnia to thriving. So, and I want that for everybody. So you can change your life. Don't wait. You do have to put some efforts to make lifestyle changes, but it is possible, and healing is possible. So I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.